Hi, it's Mr. Townsend here. This is the fifth video on reactions of organic compounds for Organic Chemistry Level 3 NCEA. In this video, we're going to look at some of the reactions of amines. We're going to pay particular attention to the organic product that is produced, as well as the non-organic product or the inorganic product. Okay, so let's go on and start looking at these in detail now. Right, okay, so if we look at an amine, we've got three particular reactions we're going to look at in this video. So we've got what happens when we add water to the amine. We get a dissociation reaction. We're going to look at the acid-base reaction when we add an acid or add acid to the amine. And we're going to look at the reaction that occurs when we add an acyl chloride. And that's a condensation reaction. Okay, so let's have a look at the detail of these reactions. Okay, so let's look in detail at these three reactions. So the first reaction we're going to look at is a dissociation reaction, and this comes about because an amine is a weak base. It's going to partially dissociate when we add it into a solution of water. It will react with water. Essentially what happens here is the water here is going to donate a proton to this amine group. When it donates a proton to the amine group, then we produce this aminium ion. Okay, so it's picked up a proton, so that's a hydrogen and a plus, so we now have this ion that is charged, an alkyl aminium ion, and we also produce a hydroxide. Because the water has lost its proton, it now becomes a hydroxide, and the solution is essentially basic. This is a dissociation reaction. This happens every time an amine is placed in water. You will be expected to write this equation in full. The organic product and the hydroxide ion are both important to write down. So that's what's particular about when we look at amines, the types of reactions when we draw these. All the other organic reactions, we've just been really interested in the organic product. But when we have something like an acid-base reaction or a dissociation reaction, we have to recognize both products that have been created. So the next type of reaction is just an acid-base reaction. So if we assume that an amine is a base, it's going to react with hydronium ions or H3O plus ions or acids in the same way that bases do. That means it's going to accept a proton and the acid is going to lose its proton. So our hydronium ion will donate the proton here and it will in turn become water, and again the amine will become an alkyl aminium ion. This also, it's important to remember what the other product is that's been formed, and that is water in this case. Okay, so amines also undergo a specific type of reaction called a condensation reaction. And if we place an amine in the presence of an alkyl chloride, if we just put them together and mix them, they will react, because alkyl chlorides or acyl chlorides react vigorously with almost anything you add to them. And in this case, the reactive part of the molecule here, the chlorine, is going to react with the ammonia here, and that will end up that they form a bond together. This is called an amide bond. So you can see the carbon double bond oxygen is joined next to a nitrogen, and in the middle of the molecule, so we've combined two molecules together, but we've removed a small molecule. This is called a condensation reaction, where we join two or more molecules together, but in the process release a small molecule. Now the small molecule we release is usually a hydrochloric acid or H2O, depending on what the two molecules are we put together. Always though, when we react amines with acyl chlorides, we produce a hydrochloric acid and we produce something called a secondary amide. Secondary amide because when we look at the nitrogen on the right hand side, it is attached to two carbons. That makes it secondary, and we name this in a specifically unique way, but you don't need to remember the naming for this course. Okay, so let's just go over what we've Right, let's just check how we've gone with our understanding of the video so far. So what I'd like to do is just go over the 3 reactions. So we're going to look at the propanamine or propan-1-amine, and we're going to do the 3 reactions, one of adding water, one of adding acid or hydronium ion, and one of adding methyl chloride, which is an acyl chloride. So what I'd like you to do is stop the video, copy down this reaction scheme, and then write the products. When you write the products for these reactions, remember for the amine reactions, we want to write the organic product and the other small inorganic product that's formed. That's important to know the difference, that what water produces that is different to what acid produces to what happens when we add methyl chloride, and what the special small molecule is that's taken away when we add methyl chloride. So yeah, just pause the video, write down the answers, and then I'll go over the answers. So when we add water, the answer, what we get here is a dissociation reaction. We add acid, we get the acid-base reaction, and of course we add the methyl chloride, we get a condensation reaction. So the dissociation reaction is going to produce propan-1-aminium, okay, plus hydroxide. Don't forget the hydroxide. The acid-base reaction again is going to produce the same aminium ion, or propan-1-aminium. You don't need to be able to name these aminium ions. Okay, so that's not part of the syllabus, but I've just put them down anyway. But you do have to recognize acid-base reaction produces the aminium ion and the water molecule. And when we add the methyl chloride, or the acyl chloride in this case, remember we're going to produce 2 molecules. We're going to make them into 1 molecule that's called an amide, and we're going to produce, take this small molecule away every time, in this case the hydrogen, or the hydrochloric acid. The name of this, N-propan methanoate. You don't need to know how to name secondary amides, but you might recognize them and see some places. So this is, the naming here is pushing you kind of outside your boundary, but it's good to know extra things. Okay, I hope this video on the reaction of amines has been useful. You know, subscribe, click like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.